Alrighty, I'm thinking of doing a couple new things. So I want to do smaller stories, like that aren't called chapters. It's like it'll be called Skyrim, then maybe Cassilia, and you'll get to kind of. It'd be like an ordinary playthrough kind of thing where she's doing her job. She's a mercenary bounty hunter. She'll rescue people, she'll kill people, or she'll kill bounties because that's the way she does things. Freya's not always the same. She might bring him in alive. It will retrieve stolen artifacts, or clear out this, or clear out that, all for the gold and the usefulness of doing something. But it won't be totally boring like on a quest you're kind of going through this quest, which is kind of exciting and having the perspective on it. This is going to be them talking about their past, how they grew up, and especially for Cecilia, that'd be quite interesting because she's a 200 plus year old vampire. She grew up, what is it like, 20 within, like, say you could say 14 years before the Oblivion Crisis. Kind of, your memory at least starts to form at like 4 or 5. And so this could be this thing where you're hearing about her stories where she's working and hunting and all that sort of crap. You could hear a story about her past when she was but a mortal. Her time as a child, as a teenager, as a young adult, joining under the military, going to see her folks before she was sent to Skyrim because of the rebellion starting to, like a small little, the Nords are starting to rebel. I remember that was a thing in Oblivion, I'm pretty sure. There was always discussions about the Nords fighting, and there's even a monument next to Whiterun of a battle that happened 200 years ago. And then, of course, the time in the Oblivion Crisis, the time after, and even times, maybe 75 years before the game starts, of the Nords and people that she met then, because she's been around for a long time. She's been in Skyrim for a god like 180 years or so. So there's quite a bit of history of quite a few different Jarls and things like that. I need to do a lot of research on Skyrim's past prior to the Dragon Wars, I'm going to call it. And same thing with Freya, what was it like growing up in a pact, growing up being trained and raised by a vampire, the dealing with the smell of them, the harshness or coldness that Cecilia might have shown pretty early on before she became the loving mother that she is, or became having to deal, having like a 10-year-old child have to deal with a vampire that's been on her own for like 180 years, It's been like a friggin' hermit. And all sorts of different things. And even other characters like Minerva, I've got quests for them lined up. She's a cheeky elf, and she'll get into some mischief, but I'm waiting for an armor mod. It's released by the same team that made the Viridian armor, by the same guy that made the Himbo body slide, but he's at the moment working on an upgrade for that, and that armor mod for the mage won't be out yet, so I really want that armor mod. I don't want to walk around in the archmage uniform. It doesn't seem very practical. For immersion, at least. I kind of want her to have like a battle armor, something like that. And other guild characters, other characters we've come across, their stories are somewhat kind of complete. There's always sort of stuff to do, like for the Harbinger, there's to cure the brothers. For her, there's to find the missing apprentices and the mastery spells and all that other jazz. But kind of like, we got to catch up with the characters, the ones that I'm pretty sure are done. Before we meet them in their capacity much later on when they follow a certain somebody that's called Dovahkiin. So yeah, I want to do smaller stories, like, well, not really chapters, but you kind of, it's like a let's play, but you hear the character talk about their past, you get to learn more about them. And also I want to try something different where it's like you hear the characters talking to each other. So I'm getting ready to do a supporting character for Cecilia, which will be, I'm going to call it chapter something, the fledgling. And it's going to be basically her with her supporting character, but we're going to meet the supporting character long before we kind of, well, we're going to meet her before she becomes a supporting character. Anyway, and I want to see if I can try something where it's like, where you hear Cecilia talking to this character. It's not going to be like as loud as it is when you listen to the story or the prologues or something like that. But it's going to be like, when Cecilia's talking, the camera will be basically to a back like third person. And then it will switch over when a supporting character's talking. It will then go to her back. And hopefully it makes a bit of sense that there's some range to it, so it feels like they're not talking to, like, that close into your ear that they're right there. Because I don't know if Movie Maker has the ability to kind of had add like a range sort of thing for audio. I don't think it does. Anyway, those are the new things I want to try and do. I'm going to get into making this supporting character. It's also a matter of timing everything right, because I mean, my last playthrough when I was doing all this before I turned it off because I couldn't get the Civil War done because I deleted a certain character. I think it went for a full year. The war went for a full entire year before I started the dragon stuff. Now I got to start because it's only spring, so it hasn't really I think it's because I'm reverse. I'm Australian, so the seasons are completely reverse. This follows more of the American sort of seasonal sort of thing. The war hasn't been going for that long, so I'll at least want to go for 6 months before the dragons start showing up. Now before then, we've got to get some support characters done, and we've got to at least introduce one of the guild characters, and then one of the bad guild characters, the thief. I'm going to redesign her too. I'll get into that. Fuck, there's so much to say in this video. And then I want to kind of, with the Dragonborn, I want to do a few chapters on her before she becomes the Dragonborn. So you get to meet the character before you get to meet the hero. So there's so much to do. I'm thinking of probably 2-3 months out from the dragons showing up, at least starting the Dragonborn story to kind of see where they're heading. Because like I said in my previous video, you got to make a plan for them, even if that plan doesn't go well to plan. And I got to do the assassin, because the assassin's a pain in the ass, man. He really is. I don't know, because it doesn't make much sense in the terms of the middle of the Civil War why there's a wedding going on between a powerful, a known Stormcloak family and obviously a family that's related to the Emperor. It seems like it's a perfect position for this to happen during the peacetime, when the Dragonborn calls for a peace between both sides. They're getting married during the peace, and then maybe someone gets killed, and they blame it on the Imperials, they blame it on the Stormcloaks, to kind of rifle up the tension between the two factions. It's a perfect time to do that sort of quest, but you got to time it really right, because that's kind of endgame stuff for me. I want the assassin to show up and kill Gralod. They could do that now if they wanted to, and then they're kind of in the background just killing people until, of course, the peacetime comes along. So it might be chapter whatever, the assassin, and we might see what the assassin is all about, and then they kill Gralod, and they do a certain amount of quests until they sort of contract for starts for killing the Emperor's people to get the Emperor to Skyrim. Because a lot of those are stupid quests that make no sense during the Civil War. The secret police's son, Commander Marrow's son, in full uniform, going into Stormcloak cities and seeing if they're safe. That'd make maybe a bit of sense, during a peacetime, that they're allowing this guy to come in and check if it's safe, because they can't openly kill each other right now. Which, I don't know if the Stormcloaks are willing to kill the leader of their opposition, but that might turn the Dragonborn against them, and that's not a very good idea, because Talos pretty much conquered all of friggin' Tamriel with the voice. So that wouldn't be a very grand idea. They might have to go, alright, check it out, there's nothing here, we're not going to kill the Emperor, we're on good terms with the Dragonborn, so are you, let's keep it that way. And then, basically, the Brotherhood will get cooked for their actions, and kind of go into hiding until the very end of the war, where the Emperor shows up, because the war is done, he's there to congratulate the soldiers, he does that, and then he goes back on his boat, and that's when the Brotherhood strikes. Which will lead on to, eventually, Beyond Skyrim series, and that's kind of where I want to go with that. I really want to mess around with that and see how that goes. So, yeah, there's plenty of new stuff and old stuff to do. I just got to time it right, because managing a lot of different characters and when they show up and what they do is a pain in the ass. Like my Thieves character, she was a Bosmer called Tonril, and she was an old Mary's scout soldier who got shot in the leg with an arrow, left behind by troops, had this whole mentality. It wasn't a very great story, because honestly I thought it was pretty crap. Why would you go all the way to Skyrim for? So I'm thinking of rechanging her all the way to a Nord and giving her a new name. Maybe I'll give her the Fox, and just like Lyra, she grows too old and is out of the orphanage with no skills, no nothing. And she travels the road before she's met by these bandits, and they take her, they kidnap her, they do whatever they want to her. But she kind of, is eager to join them because she's got nothing else. And they go, yeah, rightio, we can, if you want to play around, with full consent, then great. And then she'll join their gangs, and we'll experience, the Western gangs or the Eastern gang sort of thing, and the Western gang sort of thing, because she's going to join an Eastern gang. And what I've said in the prequel story, Stormcloaks don't take nicely to scum. The Empire gets a bit slack on it, but the Stormcloaks, they come cracking down, and she might survive that clan and leave and join another one in the East, which will lead her to a certain quest. Will get her locked up for a year, which I might actually, it might be like another prequel. Not a prequel, like a story that starts beforehand. Like this one right here, Chapter 4, The Mage. Her story starts in the year, I think, 199 or the year 200. I'm not 100% sure. So it's gonna she just pretty much rots in prison for a year before she escapes, and she pretty much finds herself back in Riften where she pretty much started, and then she joins on to the Thieves Guild. So that's the kind of thing that I need to plan all out, in my friggin' head, what time to start this sort of stuff. I really want to do it when the Empire takes over Riften and they set roots in. I could definitely do it during the peacetime, but it doesn't make sense because this character, the Thieves Guild character, does join under the Dragonborn. So I want them to be established before the peace treaty, before the Dragons return. I want the Thieves Guild to be pretty much swinging their schlong out in full power before the Dragons come back. Stuff like that. The Assassin, like I said, I could probably get him to return before the Dragon Wars, and then just lay low, killing people for a bit of gold. This is what he does. And then he earns a bit of reputation, and then gets a contract to kill the Emperor. But this is once the Empire and the Stormcloaks have sat down and ordered peace between the two until the Dragonborn kills Elduin. So that's the sort of stuff I've got to do. I am in the works of doing a support character. Well, Cecilia. So I'm going to start that one probably, hopefully today. Get some scenes done, so that sort of stuff. And yeah, so anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this, because I'm trying to make sense of it myself, and sometimes the only way to make sense of it is by physically talking, and physically talking to myself is very weird. So talking to others on a platform that can listen to me, a little bit less weird. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed the time listening to my absolutely rambling on my brain out loud. I'm going to get out of here. Hope you've had a good one.